MakingStarWars.net.
Day 1000 of the Lucasfilm Civil War. Heir to the Empire has been canceled. It won't happen now. Hi, I'm Jason Ward from MakingStarWars.net. This ghosty
was Heir to
guy.
the Empire making inappropriate lewd jokes again?
Mhm.
It got canceled.
It was hairless to the Empire.
Oh,
yeah, not up here.
What? You're gonna get Filoni real happy.
I know.
Like.
Yeah, he likes that idea. No, we're gonna talk about Indiana Jones reviews here in just a moment, but first we're gonna hit the story du jour. Yesterday, me and the Bespin Bulletin playing video games, and he had the hot mic on, and this is where the information comes
with John Roca and Jeff Snyder, right?
And then he also has another. I'm not. Give him the hot mic.
You don't know what the hot mic is.
Yes, it's called the hot mic. What the fuck? Name it something else then. Name it what you want to call it. I got 25 minutes to be like, and John Roca, who lives at 628 Elm Street.
It's called the hot mic with John Roca and Jeff Snyder. Mm-hmm. That's actually the name. But,
yeah, well, I don't know.
I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Like, I want when they do Making Star Wars,
I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read it in here. And you're like, oh, right. say John Roca, so he notices me and asks me to the dance.
Huh? I already met John Roca. Like, I got photos with him, dude. Like I already did that. Like,
did he ask you to the dance? No,
he did.
It's not going to happen. He's not going to give you a snap.
He did, but Jesse Plemons asked me first, so I went with Jesse Plemons.
Okay, so Bespin Bulletin wrote the article on this. Dave Filoni's Star Wars movies reportedly not titled "Heir to the Empire." And so this right here, this look at this ripped old guy's abs though. Seriously, like
Ricardo Montalban.
Right? Yeah, Filoni would have put that on film. And look at this like medallion around his neck. Well, I wonder what's on it. Little maybe a little R2D2. He's like, I love R2D2. Okay. And then you could give Bespin a coffee if you want to support him. If you read his website, like I do. Mm-hmm. Or you can buy him a Fortnite skin. He'll say yes to the money note of the Fortnite skin, but he needs the Fortnite skins. He doesn't have Padme yet.
Fortnite skin, not foreskin.
Foreskin.
What?
Foreskin.
Okay, foreskin.
Yeah. Okay. Earlier this week, online rumors began spreading that Dave Filoni's upcoming movie, a movie that's set to act as a crossover event for multiple Star Wars movies he's produced in recent years, including The Mandalorian, Ahsoka, and more, was titled Heir to the Empire. In the Ahsoka teaser trailer, which released last month, the titular, he's titulating, can be heard calling Grand Admiral Thrawn the heir to the Empire, which at the time set tongues wagging, and fans and outlets began speculating that Filoni's movie could sport that title and that the film itself could be a loose adaptation or at least inspired by the novel of the name that was released in 1991. So I'm going to say, okay, if you're unfamiliar with Heir to the Empire...
Desert Storm.
Never mind. If you're unfamiliar with Heir to the Empire, it was a novel written by Timothy Zahn Solo and is the first installment of a trilogy which had been dubbed the Thrawn Trilogy due to the trilogy introducing the cunning villain Grand Admiral Thrawn, who made his way into canon in the Star Wars Rebels animated series and will feature as the villain in the Ahsoka series and Mandoverse crossover movie. Heir to the Empire is one of the most iconic and beloved Star Wars Legends novels, as is the Thrawn trilogy itself. Honestly, the second two aren't as good. With Empire selling over 15 million copies worldwide, Heir to the Empire is set 5 years after Star Wars Return of the Jedi. The Imperial Remnant is being controlled by Grand Admiral Thrawn from thousands of light years away. Reading what remains of the Empire for war against the fragile heart of the New Republic. He got a little poetic on that one, didn't he? At the end there, he's like, you could tell he was really kind of like getting into his flow.
He writes these by hands in his Trapper Keeper. So
he actually writes them on his phone. Classic, like millennial kid, right? or whatever.
Oh,
is he a millennial? Is 26 millennial, or is he something? Is he Gen Z? Can't remember how that shit works anymore.
He's Gen Z because you have to graduate like around 2000 to be a millennial, man.
You're gonna say he didn't graduate. Rampant rumors that Dave Filoni's crossover movie could sport the Heir to the Empire title. A reputable insider and journalist is claiming that this is not the case. Jeff Snyder, one half of the Hot Mic podcast and editor-in-chief of Line, took to his podcast.
Jeff Snyder, not Jeb. Like, it sounds like it's a Jeb Snyder.
Jeb Snyder. Hi, I'm Jeb Snyder, and I'm here to tell you that this movie is called One Fishing Expedition in Space. One half of the Hot Mic podcast. See, and then look, I was trying to give him all of the citations that I was going to do when I read it, and then you're like, no. Mm-hmm. You're like, no. Rob's like, no, don't give it to him now. Rob giveth, Rob taketh.
It's
okay.
True. Read the comments if you ever want to see me do it. Like.
I just see you fighting with people who watch our show, and I'm like,
I don't fight.
I know. Not really.
I finish it.
Oh shit! The Hot Mic podcast editor-in-chief of the Above the Line took to his podcast this week. I like when it's like he took to it. He's like He's like, I gotta fucking set the record straight. And he like gets on there, take it to the podcast. I'm taking it to the streets.
Like, he's man spread on a couch for an hour.
Yeah. I do like when he gets all super stoned on his show and just like, yeah, man, fucking, yeah, dude, they're gonna make a thing and fucking Zach Braff's in it or something. I don't know. All right. Snyder was the first to break that Dave Filoni was directing a Star Wars movie and that the news would be announced at Star Wars Celebration 2023. Which it was. Yeah, he got that one. Snyder has also been, and this is Jeff Snyder, not Jeb Snyder. Jeb Snyder,
right?
He got syphilis. He's dying.
Stop.
Snyder has also been a strong source for news of the Damon Lindelof written Star Wars movie, which is now being helmed by Stephen Knight, and we'll see Rey Skywalker building a new Jedi Order. Snyder was the first to report that Lindelof was writing a Star Wars in March of last year, was also the first to report that Lindelof had exited the project 2 months ago. So, in the latest episode of the Hot Mic, and there's his coffee if you want to support him. Hot Mic, a viewer asked if he'd heard anything new regarding the upcoming Star Wars projects. Oh yeah, if you want to support this show, you can become a channel member and all that. I appreciate that. With the Hot Mic co-host chiming in and asking, I forgot, I need money too. I get hungry sometimes. You know, I might be a little fat, but I get hungry. All right. Anyways,
those Fortnite skins aren't buying themselves. Jay.
Not this month, man. It's like fucking. I like $100 on that bullshit this month. Shit.
Yeah. There's your Zelda money.
Gotta keep the lights on though. All right. Snyder shut down the rumor without hesitation, telling his co-hosts and viewers straight that according to his reliable Disney sources, Dave Filoni's Star Wars movie is not titled Heir to the Empire. And yeah, I
dare to the Empire.
Oh shit!
Dare, right? Mm-hmm. Like I dare you. Ooh,
it's actually a 2-hour staring contest called Stare to the Empire. Spin the
boba. It's called Spin the Boba, dude. The boba?
Yeah. Boba's just a little tiny spinner in this one. You could just take him wherever you want. Okay. So he's got a little rocket pack to brace himself. All right. Okay.
It's 1998's porn.
So, hey, you might have left it, but I didn't. This uniform. This ain't a uniform. This is a way of life. Okay, I've just got this in. This is just in. No. The answer. I'm hearing that it's not called Heir to the Empire. It's not true. Jeff Snyder by the Hot Mic. So Dave Filoni's Mandoverse crossover movie is still a few years away, with the Hollywood Reporter previously revealing that the Lucasfilm and the Disney are looking to release the flick in December 2026. Still don't really believe that, to be honest with you. But this.
I'm going to start using the Disney, by the way.
The Disney.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's something my dad would have done back in the day. He called it Nintendo because for some reason he couldn't pronounce N's. Yeah, I know.
Really?
And I would correct him, and boy, did I get in trouble for that one.
Yeah.
You know?
Well,
you got that one coming on the fucking box, but all right.
I'm going to say when somebody's going that far off incorrect, I think he's got to give it to him because.
Well.
They can't.
Jason, if I'm being told to get good grades in spelling and my own dad refuses to pronounce words correctly, well, what does that say?
Rob, we're gonna say this to you once. Do as I say and not as I do.
Okay, thanks, Jason.
Okay, that's probably what he would say, though. Maybe.
He did. I have nothing to add to that.
Yeah, that's probably.
I feel like I was put in my place.
Yeah, they really thought they like had that, and then I would just be like, "You say stupid shit," and then I'd start getting slapped. But anyways, but the timeline was dependent on the fourth, on the fourth season of The Mandalorian and a possible second season of Ahsoka, which had not been greenlit, and likely wouldn't be until the first season of the show was released. Likely to see if the show is successful enough to invest in a second season. However, this week it was revealed that Lucasfilm are delaying production on The Mandalorian Season 4 due to the ongoing Writers Guild of America strike. The fourth season was due to start filming later in September of this year, but would be delayed to an unknown time. Given how Mando 4 in the timetable and its timetable is important to the Filoni crossover movie's release, there's a chance that The Mandalorian's production delay could have a knock-on effect on both the possible second season of Ahsoka and subsequently Dave Filoni's movie, which could result in a release date delay. So, and then you could follow his Bob podcast and all his socials here on his website, bestmanbulletin.com. But yeah, so like I've and that was My Time to Shine Hello was the releaser of the rumor that he is saying is incorrect, and I went to pull that tweet up for this show just to be like, they could still be, if you're holding on to dear life about this one being true. Like I said, I had people from the trades come and tell me I was wrong about Pedro Pascal being the Mandalorian. I wasn't. That's right. It happens. So, but My Time to Shine deleted the tweet. And so I don't know if that's just because they really respect Snyder's opinion, or they're like, oh, I must be wrong, or I am wrong, or they know they were wrong, or what. I don't know. I can only guess, and your guess is as good as mine. But that tweet is now deleted. So there we go. We're back to where we all knew we were going to be. When you really get down to it. Damn. I mean, we when you watch our show where we like really dive into it, we break it down, and I just am constantly like, there's every reason for this not to be true. I was really citing on it not being true, and if it was batshit insane. But sometimes they get batshit insane, so I was like, well, let's play with it, because ain't nothing going to be happening anytime soon. In Hollywood, As the Truth says, admission of guilt now for some NFTs to cover it up. Oh wait,
do you think they're going to call it the magnificent Mandos?
The magnificent.
Like, what else?
Right.
But what? Right?
Yeah.
5'10"
to Yaddle. No.
Okay. All right. A little too on the nose there, I think.
Okay. All right. So let's look at some Indiana Jones. You guys are being fucking brutal. It's all My Time to Clout Chase. But I don't. But once again, though, if they end up being right in the big picture, Sam, you got to come. You got to say, I'm sorry. It was your time to shine. So, anyways, said that Captain Rex was going to be in Mando season 2. Oh, really? Yeah, it happens. All right, so
Mando season 2.
Share this tab instead.
Yeah. Keep holding on to that one.
Mando season 2, all the way back then. But yeah, I don't follow people's track records too closely, to be honest with you. I take the John Lennon kind of approach, and like I only believe in me and Yoko, and Bestman's my Yoko. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. Indiana Jones and the Dial.
I'm like your Ringo. I just fart.
You are a farty Ringo.
I farted.
Yeah.
My favorite fucking part of that Get Back documentary when he goes, I farted.
Yeah. You just take that.
So good, dude.
What's that? What's that thing called that you use? That's like magic screen from Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Oh, it's
you're like what's it called? Like a cinefastique. that thing that you draw on.
Yeah, she had like that extra sketch that would come out.
Yeah. What is yours called though? Like, what is yours called?
Oh, Cintiq.
Cintiq. Yeah. So like your Cintiq is just like your fucking drum set. If we just change it over, then it's just like the same thing. You're just there behind the kit the whole time, like waiting to a drum. All right, Indiana Jones.
Waiting for you waiting for fucking John and fucking Paul to do something, right? And then who's? I guess Azatru would be George, right? Because Azatru's coming up, right?
As a true has some George vibes. I think he is going to grow that hair like super long and just like kind of drop out of society at one point, and then return.
Been on more than Spreezy, so right?
Has he?
Yeah.
I'm gonna let Spreezy be our Brian Epstein. I'll let Spreezy be our Brian Epstein.
Is he that guy with the anvil? Like he's playing the anvil? Like
no, he's the one who. No, he's the manager who after he dies, they stop doing tours and stuff. But I don't want Spreezy to die. I'm just saying.
No.
I was just trying.
No. I want him to play tennis.
Oh. Play tennis?
Or I like when he got a job as a train conductor, but quit because he was afraid to kill people.
All I know is that's true.
I was like, what? I'm
not
joking, dude. Like,
yeah, they're like you're gonna run people over, and he's like, I don't want to run people over. Well, you will eventually. He's like, I'm not gonna do that.
Back to tennis.
Yeah.
I mean, what a life.
Yeah. I mean, on the flip side of it, Spreezy, when a loving father and devoted husband hires you to teach his wife tennis, and then you steal her. In some ways, you hit him with the truck, Spreezy. In some ways, you hit him with the truck or with the train. No, he doesn't do that. But that's the trope, the tennis instructor. Okay.
Right.
So this
Kato
is from
Kaelin.
Kato Kaelin. This is from Rolling Stone. So I figured we would go with like one of the more classics, one of the reviews that
reviews?
we are. These are the Indiana Jones. We're looking at those. We're going to look at a couple of those.
All right. Well, we got time for reviews,
demonetized.
Right? Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Damn it. Damn that fucking algorithm.
Laser eyes on your featured images. Laser eyes.
Yay! Yeah. It's time to get sued. Here comes the Disney to sue me now, right?
And John Williams is writing this shit down. He's like, I don't know how they do it, but they fucking done it.
This is really good stuff. Hold on. Let me write it down.
Right. All right. RollingStone.com. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny does Harrison Ford's Indy dirty. I didn't even see that headline. Premiering at Cannes. That's the Cannes Nintendo Entertainment System Festival, I believe. Harrison Ford's latest indie adventure brings some thrills, a few chills, and a whole lot of fan service and visual effects. By David Fear. That's a pretty fucking badass name, though. I don't want a bad review by David Fear. You know? Mm-hmm. All right. Maybe when he dies, he'll beat the what do you call it? The Grim Reaper, and then people say don't fear the Reaper. Never mind. Dad joke. I can't help myself. All right. Indiana Jones has fought a lot of on-screen villains, Nazis, assassins, evil high priest, corrupt rich douchebags, Kate Blanchett's hair. Yet Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, the fifth movie to feature Harrison Ford's globe-trotting, snake-hating, whip-cracking, fedora-rocking, archaeological professor, pits our man Indy against the single greatest nemesis he's ever faced. Time. There's a ton of Nazis here too. Trust us. Ditto some shady government agents, a racist redneck, a thug roughly the size of a redwood, a Moroccan kingpin with a scimitar, and your usual assorted thugs. Really fucking selling.
Like Robert Meyer Burnett's channel, dude. Like.
What?
What?
I was gonna say. I can't wait for some of those guys in like Alabama to be like, how dare they treat this redneck like that on screen? What the fuck, Indiana Jones? I thought you were our brother. Nope. But the latest chapter of Steven Spielberg's throwback adventure is centered around the idea that everyone, even the good guys we grew up worshiping, and the movie stars who played them can't win the fight against the passing of the years. Doesn't matter.
I feel that.
Hey, Rolling Stone, I can't fucking read because you want me to like buy into your fucking thing. Okay. All right. Anyways, blah, 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 blah. And he's a single greatest emphasis time. So, all right. It doesn't matter if you digitally de-age and deep as courtesy of a prologue that channels the original indie trilogy as best it possibly can. If we're lucky, they simply battle it to a draw. That, and they've just kept themselves in such great shape that anyone would think they were half their current age. Ford was already in his late 30s when he first slipped into the leather jacket and outran a boulder. That was 1981. Do the math. Still, you either die an intellectual property hero trapped in amber, or you live long enough to see yourself riding a fake horse against the green screen.
Fan service.
Subway back
Batman, fan service.
When most of your peers have slowed down.
Mm-hmm.
Dial of Destiny does eventually lean heavy into the concept of a beloved man of action in his autumn years, showing us an Indiana Jones who has trouble getting out of bed and yells at hippie kids to turn down their Magical Mystery Tour album. The world has moved on from the sort of swashbuckling, daring do in distant jungles and exotic lands. Who cares about ancient artifacts excavated from the earth when men have just landed on the moon? So, like, this is supposed to be telling me it's bad, but it's talking me into it. But first, we're whisked back to 1944. A guy in a German military uniform is being led to an interrogation room as bombs are being dropped all over Berlin. The bag over his head is lifted in viola. There's Indiana Jones looking as if he's just watched the Ark of the Covenant.
The whole movie? Or are we just going to get the review? Like, let's not spoil the whole movie. Like,
this doesn't spoil the whole movie. Do you really think Rolling Stone?
Write a review. I really hate when they write a review and they just walk you through the whole fucking episode. It's not a review. You know
it's not going to do that. It's not going to do that. This is Rolling Stone. It's fucking. It's a corporate it's a corporate magazine. It's gonna suck on the dick a little bit. It's gonna suck the balls of Mickey Mouse. It's not gonna do anything like that. I wish it would. I would actually really read it on the show if they did, but they're not going to. They're just gonna tell us what the vibe is. There's Indiana Jones looking as if he just watched the Ark of the Covenant take out a bunch of vintage no good nicks mere hours before. The archaeologist is after the lance of Longinus. I don't know. Sounds like some butt stuff. The spear that pierced the side of Christ and has been liberated by a Nazi colonel who believes it's got magical powers. Longinus. What the fuck is that? That's not a word, damn it. All right. Jones clocks it as a fake. So does Professor Jürgen Voller. I think that's Jürgen, I'm guessing, but Voller. They both know that there's something else in the batch of stolen goods that is a big deal. However, the Antikythera, aka Archimedes' dial, or half of it at least. Whoever nabs this and finds the other half may determine who wins the war. So that's the premise that they fucking refuse to put in every fucking trailer during the Super Bowl that they spend a lot of money on. And so now we get to learn it in Rolling Stone and a negative review. Good job, Lucasfilm and Disney. Your fucking forward thinking is nonstop. You guys are the future of cinema, and you're proving it. All right. There's an undeniable rush to seeing Raiders era Jones Ford replicated so faithfully and done in a way that keeps skirting the edge of the uncanny valley, yet never seems to plummet into it. Director James Mangold has taken over the reins from Steven Spielberg, and he's clearly studied the master's playbook as if it were a holy scroll. The Logan director has coordinated a series of interlocking set pieces, featuring CG Indy escaping exploding buildings, leaping from cars onto speeding motorcycles, and running across train tops to the sound of John Williams' iconic franchise theme, with all the precision of a massive game of mousetrap. The help of the editing trio Andrew Buckland, Michael McCusker, and Dick Westervelt to achieve this minor miracle can't be overstated. It's like watching the cinematic equivalent of the world's greatest Beatles cover band do hits down to the last
I like the
note,
Fab Four.
and is
I like the Fab
undeniable
Four, though.
a blast. And then Dread Zeppelin, bro. And then, like a giant boulder unleashed from its underground perch, everything rapidly rolls downhill from there. So, see, like for the record, like I've read a couple of other reviews, and I almost get like sometimes I get the impression, I'm curious if when I see the movie, if this is what it is, that the first stuff feels so familiar that when it finally does something new, that's when it kind of gets rejected because it was giving you what you wanted, what you thought it was, what you know it as. And then when it needed to be something new, instead of being something new the whole time. So I'm curious if that flashback that we're all going to love is a curse or not. It could go either way.
I feel like we're gonna be in Temple of Doom territory, where people are like, "It's not really a sequel to Raiders. It's it's very different. Like, but it still has indie in it.
Yeah. I mean, when you get down to it, like the theme of it, of like you're all gonna fucking die someday, isn't necessarily a feel good popcorn concept, is it? Not in a world where everybody's like on Instagram trying to pretend that they still look like they have the skin from when they were a teenager. Now it's 1969, and Jones is being forced out to pasture by his Hunter college bosses. A young woman approaches him, asking a lot of questions about the Archimedes dial. She's Helena Shaw, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Indy's goddaughter. Her dad, Basil, Toby Jones, was with Jones when that stolen half of the dial was lost back in 1944. She thinks she's located its current whereabouts. Moreover, Helena has a good idea where the second half is as well. Meanwhile, Waller, now going by Dr. Schmidt and designing rockets for America, because of course,
Did he pick a German name to hide his German name?
I am Dr. Schmidt. Is also looking for info on the artifact. Yeah, like instead of like Von Braun, like I'm Dr. Brown.
What was Lucas's original name for Indiana? Was it Indiana Smith?
I think it was.
I think it was Indiana Smith.
I think it was Terry.
No, I think it really was Indiana Smith, and then
Indiana Smith. You are correct.
On the beach with the sandcastles. Remember?
You are correct. Yeah,
Schmidt,
Indiana
Smith.
Schmidt. No, it's Smith. Yeah, it wasn't Schmidt. He's no fucking Nazi, dude. What are you talking about?
Would have been funny if he went with Smith. Like just pretty close.
Yeah. So, anyways, so Waller Schmidt is designing rockets for America because, of course, and is also looking for the artifact, along with CIA operatives and an acolyte from Alabama, Boyd Holbrook. He's determined to find out what Helena knows. So is Boyd Holbrook the fucking redneck from Alabama? Must be.
Don't stop believing.
You sister fucking Alabamians. All right. The reason everyone is after the dial is because once the two halves are joined, it's no longer just a golden ancient it's a time machine. So do you remember back in the like when one of the first indie episodes we ever did, we did a whole thing on the Antikythera machine because we were like, it's probably that. It's probably that.
Yeah, because like there's no other fucking thing it don't make any sense, dude. Like
we had that. The Spear of Destiny was our other one that I think we did. We did those two, and I think in that episode. But yeah, and I'm gonna be honest. I think that might have hurt our chances of getting that spoiler.
Honestly,
because we had it, no one was like, "Well, I'm gonna set them straight." They were just like, "Yeah," they figured it out.
Yeah, so. I mean, like some people were critiquing my whole Infernal Machine fucking like take on the title, and I'm like, look, I don't give a fuck what it's called, but calling it the Dial of Destiny, it's just not a good final name. I don't care what you say. Like, this is not.
I don't like it either. It doesn't really have very much intrigue to me. Like, I would rather something of time, probably. But maybe we'll learn what the alternate titles were, and I bet you there's some good ones. But probably not as marketable. They found out or something. Movies can be time machines too, of course. Something that Spielberg and George Lucas know all too well. when they hashed out what would become Raiders of the Lost Ark during a vacation in Hawaii. They were trying to bring back the giddiness they felt as kids, watching old 1930s serials filled with cliffhangers and narrow escapes, and ended up setting the tone for the 1980s blockbusters. Dial of Destiny transports viewers back to the dying days of World War II and the times they are a-changin', late 60s. A protest against the Vietnam War becomes a plot device, which we saw that. Remember? We saw like that filmed. And Indy uses the crowd to escape and uses the peace signs to fight. But what it really wants to do is drop you back into 1981, when seeing Harrison Ford pull himself over, under, and through a moving truck felt like you were injecting 10 cc's of pure, uncut excitement right into your jugular. That sounds like we're sucking a big-ass uncircumcised dick in that sentence. Mangold is chasing after a treasure just as much Jones, Shaw, and Voller are, though he isn't a millennia-old doohickey that can locate fissures in the space-time continuum.
You want to hear me out here?
Huh?
Right? Just a quick thought. I know
Yeah.
people are going to fucking hate this, but I figured if they're going to say this is the last one, right? Last Indiana Jones, why don't they just call it the Raiders of Time? Like, just reinvoke the Raiders bit. You know, like, you could do that, right? You could get away with it.
You
Get
know,
away with it. I think you could.
I don't want these fucking clowns doing good movies or bad movies. Just being like, what's the other thing? Return of the Sith and that kind of shit. Like, I fucking hate it. Come up with a fucking just straight up unique ass title. Yeah. Like no. I'm saying Return of the Sith would be that like exact kind of thing, and then that's what always gets like thrown out. That's what they always like try to do. What sounds like a title we've already done or something, or what sounds like something we should be doing. That's what the titles felt like to me on the last Star Wars movies. What do the titles like? What do people think we should be doing? Let's do that, as opposed to like fucking cool titles. That's one of my biggest critiques of the fucking Disney era of Star Wars. The film titles all suck.
What about
Star Wars stories? Star Wars stories sucks. Calling it the Mandalorian is fucking just baseline all right, but then calling the next show Ahsoka and fucking everything up to their first name because somebody at Marvel knows how to sell stuff when it's called Captain America and then when it's called Iron Man. And do you think you could apply that like across the board? Like you're doing it fucking wrong. You just are. It's lazy and it's stupid. But what's interesting here is there's a little bit of a thing about the Antikythera device here that says that it can locate fissures in the space-time continuum. So that means they apparently can't just like turn the dial and then, oh, now I'm in 1955. Look at my parents at the prom. Like you can't Marty McFly shit, I guess. I guess the dial locates where these spots are geographically, and then you go to them. And then I think that's what a doohickey that can locate fissures in the space-time continuum. That's what it makes me think it is. It's the exact all sense of wonder and awe you got watching the first Indiana Jones adventure. He's a raider of a lost art form. Ooh. That remembrance of Saturday matinees past is there, but for a bit in Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Sorry, that remembrance of Saturday matinees past is there for a bit in Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny. So it's just there a little bit until it very much isn't. And you're largely left with what you'd imagine you get if you programmed a 21st century AI program to write up nostalgia bait for the children of the late 20th century. It's not all bad. There are scattered moments of wit and old school Hollywood blockbuster pleasure here and there. The rapport between the odd coupling of Ford and Waller-Bridge occasionally gives the movie an off-kilter screwball jolt. Mikkelsen does for screen Nazis what he did for Bond villains. The de-aging looks way better than the rest of the VFX. Exactly 0 characters survive a nuclear blast by hiding out in a refrigerator.
Thanks, Back to the Future.
Yeah. I mean, I fucking like it. Should you try to escape the creeping sensation of familiar face cameos and callbacks, Easter eggs? Why'd it have to be Easter eggs? Showing up at the expense of untangling plot complications or connecting the dots between chase scenes? However, you may find yourself wondering why all this business feels so frenetic without feeling like it's that fun. Maybe because you saw it in fucking cons with a bunch of douchebags, maybe. But there are cons. There are needs being met here, but they aren't storytelling based so much as stoking the fan base and meeting the bottom line ones. Ford still has the fortitude to play the part, but just having him show up to crack whips and crack wise in the name of bringing back that old indie thrills, spills, chills magic isn't enough of an excuse to have him don the fedora for one last time. Things move forward, one character tells Jones, and sometimes they move backward. Sometimes you may have turned the dial a little too much on the latter side this time around. So it doesn't sound like this person had very, very much fun seeing it, you know, and it's, I'm going to assume it's their like, honest opinion. I'm not going to, they're lying, I'm not going to say that, but it's like, because there are things about it that I have sensed, like when we see Sala in the trailer, I'm like, it doesn't appear that Sala is very important in it. It just seems like he's there.
Seems like a cameo.
Yeah, and like, so that kind of stuff don't really necessarily need that kind of stuff. I would rather it pertain to the like story itself. But here's the whole thing, though. If you want to be an apologist, which I'm somebody, I got to see it myself before I know, like, before I believe anything that these reviews say, or that I take them to heart. But like, the indie movies aren't necessarily structured super well, because they are right, but that's by design. And right. So I'm curious if we have a scenario here where a bunch of, I am just going to guess, 50-year-olds are reviewing movies from their childhood, and they're seeing them more structurally for what they are and critiquing them like in this very serious way. It's like, would they have given a similar review to any of them? And I'm also going to say, if you talk shit, like, they like to like talk shit about the other fucking movies. This one didn't do too bad. It just like did the low hanging, I'm going to hit shit on 4 because I know people won't get mad at me thing. But when they talk shit about the other ones, like the original like 3 movies, especially, like if you talk shit on any of those, you do like kind of nullify. And when I say talk shit, I don't mean like you're just critical, like from like a film historian perspective or looking at it for what it is kind of thing. But like, if you don't love it, I'm not going to think you're going to like any of the, you're not going to like it, this one, especially. If you hate Last Crusade, no shit after Last Crusade is ever going to make you happy. Like, after, you know what I mean? Like, because like we're so post the original vibe, right?
Right.
Oh yeah, Sam. Then Sam's all, when Jason's show ends, I give him a 5-minute standing ovation every time. Yeah, it's a weak one though, right? And I was laughing at that because I was like, they are such douchebags that they fucking stand up and give a fake 5-minute standing ovation, and you have to read into it. Like, that's crazy.
At least the French appreciate the arts in the way we appreciate guns and football. All right.
I don't appreciate guns. I don't appreciate football, and I don't appreciate the French's phoniness to stand up and clap for something that they don't like. Now, if they were clapping them ass cheeks, that's a different. That's a different.
I'll always side over politeness to American. Like, the problem with the way we see things is it tends to fall into like apathy, and then that breeds into nihilism. You'll see this in the comments where someone will go, Rob, this sort of thing really wasn't that great, or it's not true. And then when I counteract it, they go, well, everything sucks, and then everything's bad. It all sucks. It's a turn. Like, they always go down that path every fucking time, bro.
Yeah.
Like every time. And you're like, well, that's not the point.
Yeah,
so I get what you mean. The problem is when we see someone clapping for something, we go, well, that must mean it's great. It's like, no, other societies are just polite, like over politeness to an extent. We are like, What did the penguin say? Why does everyone always bring tomatoes? Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and no, I mean, I don't agree with like I always say, if you don't like something, leave it alone. Like you don't have to clap for it, pretend like you like it. If you don't, that's stupid. But and it's also stupid to like go, to a
It's a
cheerlead somebody
festival,
else's
dude.
movies.
Like,
Yeah, I mean, I understand that.
kind of
I
the
understand
spirit of the fucking.
if we're talking like indie films that are coming out, people that got a movie made by the grace of God, cool. But when it's a fucking Disney movie, that's when you're gonna give it
It's
that
like,
same
let me
thing.
give you an
That's
example.
crazy.
Like when, like at the end of like a Japanese soccer match or something, they'll go out or like at the end of a soccer match, they'll go out and shake each other's hands. Like they go on the field and they shake each other's hands afterward.
Mm-hmm.
You don't then hear the review. Everyone shook their hands for 3 minutes, which meant it was the greatest game of all time. It's
Yeah,
like, no, that's just a formality. Like,
yeah.
and this actually stems sadly from those Batman versus Superman early reviews. Remember when it was like there was a standing ovation, which meant that it was gonna be the greatest film of all time and it was gonna make $3 billion fucking dollars. I mean, people were saying that, bro. Like that,
Mm-hmm.
and then we know how that movie turned out. So did anybody stand up and clap at the end of an Indiana Jones film, like when at a premiere? Like I don't know, like I
Yeah.
mean, and I remember specifically with that first film, Raiders. My older uncles were like, "This is like the stuff I watched when I was a kid," because my grandfather would take them to some of those serials and shit still played, especially on the naval bases. Like
Mm-hmm.
when they were stationed at Treasure Island and shit, they would go and they'd still be playing Republic serials like on matinees to drop your kids off and shit. They had like penny, they had penny dispensers. Like you put a penny in and get like candies, like pennies. My mom
Mm-hmm.
was like, "These things are too expensive. Why don't they cost pennies? What world do you live in? Like pennies? Nothing costs a penny in 1980 fucking 3, dude." Like, so when people say Indiana Jones is living off nostalgia, I'm like, the whole fucking point is nostalgia. That literally is the point. Like, it was nostalgic for Lucas and them to be doing this. But the difference though is, and this is what I want to bring up. Like when I was talking about we were talking about Akira Kurosawa, right? And like how Filoni and these guys will invoke Miyazaki or Kurosawa, but I feel like they invoke an aesthetic. They don't really invoke the intent. And
Mm-hmm.
Kurosawa would say when he was making Samurai, like when he made Seven Samurai, he was trying to invoke the samurai films that were being made in Japan, but those were being made very lighthearted and sort of fun, adventurous, right? He
Yeah.
wanted to have that, but he wanted it to also be done in a serious manner. So it had the fun, but it had a seriousness to it that the others didn't. It was taking it seriously, not as a goof, but it
Yeah.
could still have the adventure. And I feel like that's what Lucas was striving with Star Wars, specifically the first two, and then in Indiana Jones too, like Indiana Jones as well, in
Mm-hmm.
that it was invoking the adventure, but it was taking it serious. It wasn't like wasn't a goof, right? It was
Yeah.
having fun, but not making fun. So like I
Yeah.
think that that's the way to always look at it, like it's invoking nostalgia, but it's taking it serious as opposed to being, like member berries,
I call
memories.
I call Will Morgan Alabama's best because I think every time I make fun of Alabama, Will's like, "Hey."
He's
So,
right on
anyways,
you.
um, and I'm with you, Tyrant. I mean, in my little black heart, is Dial of Destiny going to be the indie equivalent of ROS, or wasn't that already Crystal Skull? If we're being real, as long as this is as good as Temple of Doom, it's a win in my own opinion. Yeah, and I mean, as far as I'm concerned, if it's as good as anything Spielberg did in any way, then that's a win. Excuse me, got a burp, but it's gonna end up being like a really fun watch in the theater, right? But is it going to be an Indiana Jones movie that we want to watch, in 2 years or 5 years? That remains to be seen because, like, I still watch Crystal Skull, so it's like I think that this is probably going to work for me. This is probably kind of designed for the people that gave Crystal Skull that $850 million. This is probably going to.
You're saying you're the reason Shia LaBeouf still gets a penny residual check every 3 months? Like
I mean, somebody's got to take care of those dogs, you know. So,
yeah,
sorry, I'm kidding. It is actually really, it's really disgusting. Yeah. So, anyways, I just feel like you know, it's probably for me going to be like a win, but I also feel like Indiana Jones is so big, as is Star Wars, where it does oftentimes, like, if you want to be taken as a real, you know, high and mighty critic, you have to be really hard on Indiana Jones because it is literally like the fucking popcorn. It's the McDonald's. It's not the fucking steak of a film. It's a fucking Big Mac. And and that's an analogy that Bespin, I think, is used before, and I'm stealing it, I think. But we also live in a world where right now Fast and the Furious 10 has better reviews than Indiana Jones. I know that's fucking brain dead. I like the Fast and the Furious films. I haven't seen them all, but they're good, dumb fun. But I mean, imagine, like, you know, this movie that has, you know, that's really, really well done just isn't well enough for me because, you know, I'm me. But Fast and the Furious, I'll give it a good 8. It's like, you're fucking high. But anyways, Harrison Ford returns as the Man in the Hat, along with the franchise newcomers Phoebe Waller-Bridge and Mads Mikkelsen. So this is by Germain. This is like I think like sort of like a collection of tweets and stuff. More than 99% of the world still has to wait a month to see the return of Indiana Jones. Thursday at Cannes Film Festival, very lucky attendees got to see the world premiere of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, along with the cast and crew. Co-writer and director James Mangold was on hand, along with Indy himself, Harrison Ford, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Mads Mikkelsen, Boyd Holbrook, and newcomer Ethan Isidore, all of whom you can see in the photo shoot from the festival above. Which is all well and good, but here's the big question. How's the movie? Did Mangold make Indiana Jones movie worthy of the franchise? Or did the whole cast want to get into the fridge and fly away at the end of the evening? Here are a few of the reactions. Clayton Davis says, redemption. James Mangold redeems Indiana Jones with Dial of Destiny. A farewell to one of the greatest movie characters in cinema history. Action, laughs, charm, just everything that makes him great. Thanks, Harrison Ford and Phoebe Waller-Bridge, for the ride. So, Clayton Davis, he enjoyed it. So that's good. You know, it's good. It's not all negative. Is Chicken Load? Total film.
He didn't do a review where he goes through it beat by beat and doesn't actually say anything until like the very end.
No, I mean, you know, the Rolling Stone one just told us what the device was and generally like how it works, so we kind of know what the thing is, and it's what Disney was hiding this whole time, which was stupid. Anyways, though, Total Film says Harrison Ford's last sentence, Indiana Jones, is a terrific thrill ride. And then you could read that total review. And so they call it a terrific thrill ride. So that's good. So that's more positive. So after the Rolling Stone one, Adam review says Indiana Jones Dial of Destiny review, instant classic. Harrison Ford's career best, a rousing adventure that shows this old man still has the great libido. Not just another indie film. It's one of the best movies ever. Not just another indie film. It's one of the best movies ever. A fitting end to his journey while setting up with This Adam fucking really liked it. So
better than Critters 2?
Hey, nothing's better. I mean, like it was Leonardo, right?
And that really hot chick that unfortunately died 3 years later in a car accident.
Yeah, it's too old for Leonardo. Irish Times. Not if he had a dial. Leo wants the Dial of Destiny so he could go back, save her, and date her before she's 25. All right.
Catch her if you can, right?
Hey,
that's the movie. Catch her.
catch her if you can. There was this little hot chick. She was about 24, and she fell into a bowl of butter, and she churned that butter. And I like watching her turn that butter.
Real hot.
She's just doing it.
Yeah. She turned and she turned back the wheels of time.
All right. Irish Times. As everybody knows about Irish Times, they're really important. Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny review. Pierre Hokum of the cheesiest hue. Fuck. Called it Hokum. All right. Fucking Irish Times. Like you like to party. Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny. At long last, I know it became a Mutt Williams. I could finally be at peace. So, and then
Vietnam, right?
We don't know. Well, I really liked Indiana Jones. So, all right.
Well, we got every other prediction right so far.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume we got that one right too.
Fabrice. I don't know, man. Retour. Totalement. Gagnant. Yeah. So they said it's really cool, dude. But I was eating nachos the whole time, crunching in my own ears, and I couldn't hear shit. So I got to see it again. I think that's what it actually says. All right. Come on. You can load, you piece of shit. All right.
You really said that?
No. It was like an Italian or something. Robin at Cons.
Oh, I see.
Robin Film Dust says, first things first, Phoebe Waller-Bridge was born to lead this franchise into the future. She's perfectly cast. And oh my God, Harrison Ford. It's about time he received his well-deserved Oscar. Why not for this beautiful performance? James Mangold has crafted a stunning action adventure that captures the spirit of Spielberg's films, but also adds additional layers to give Indy an emotional farewell that feels sincere and deserved. A blockbuster created with the utmost care. I really liked it. Really loved it, even. So, so that's mostly positive stuff on this sample. So he says, we're continuing to add reactions as they come in, and more reactions will roll in Friday when the film screens again at the festival. And then that's it. The wait continues leading up to June 30th and release of Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny. So that one right there. Then I thought maybe we would do one more real quick, a real fast one. And this one's from Empire. And the reason why I thought we might want to look at the Empire one is Empire is kind of gets a bit of favoritism from Lucasfilm. Not necessarily against EW and stuff like that, but they do get their exclusive images from Star Wars projects and from Indiana Jones. And that's why I'm saying if they say something negative in this, I think they probably really mean it.
Oh.
I mean, I might be wrong. This is just it's just a theory.
Logic.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a theory.
It's a Star Wars theory.
So I think they should have taken Indiana Jones and made him a General Grievous, right? And then the little kid could have been Hayden Christensen, DH to Revenge of the Sith, right? And then she could have been.
He finds the Millennium Falcon, and then he goes in and then he goes and saves Han Solo, and then they both team up to defeat the Kylo Rens and the evil bitch of the galaxy, Rey's stupid Skywalker.
But instead, I got this bait and switch Indiana Jones movie. Okay. In 1944, archaeologist Indiana Jones retrieves one half of the Antikythera, an ancient dial built by Archimedes from the hands of Nazi scientist Baller. In 1969, Indy's goddaughter Helena teams up with the adventure to track down the other half and potentially change history forever. It's not the years, as someone once put it, it's the mileage. Indiana Jones was feeling the mileage from his first adventure in 1981's Raiders of the Lost Ark and in the Dial of Destiny, purportedly his last outing, he's feeling the years too. That seems to be the driving force behind this fifth installment of the most beloved of adventure series. What happens when even the most indestructible hero runs out of road? All of the iconic characters Harrison Ford has dusted off in recent years. Indiana Jones, tenured professor of archaeology, who never worried too much about getting his hands dirty, seems to be the one he has the most fun playing. There's real, rugged, grinning affection in Ford's now 5 performances. and a real joy in seeing him back in the fedora and leather jacket and leather gimp suit. Ford may also have been conscious too that the previous attempt at Swan Song,
Barbara
2008,
Streisand in the house.
yeah. You know, if you guys watch that Barbara Streisand video though, she's calling him the F word, not fuck.
Yeah.
The other one. Yeah.
That's not how I like to hear it.
Didn't quite hit the mark. Enough good stuff in it to feel almost underrated. By the way, did you remember, Rob, that we played that on the show like a long time ago? We watched it on the show. The Barbara Streisand video with Carrie Fisher and from Temple of Doom. Yeah, we did. But anyways, enough silly stuff. The Gophers, the aliens, the fridge. I like how the aliens is silly, but a fucking time machine dial, that's cool. To feel the need for one last crack of the course correcting whip or some fucking stones and voodoo dolls, you know.
I like how a cup that Jesus fucking like drank out of somehow like gives you unlimited fucking health and heals all wounds.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like,
well, what do you think? What do you think Jesus' urinal would do? All right, it was worth asking. If the cup does that, I mean, you know, to fill the need of one last crack of the course correcting whip. For this, I mean, when we got into Barbara Streisand and in the gimp suit, I just figured, what's next? For
Jesus
this,
is real, Rob. He's totally real. You're gonna find out one day. You know,
if he is, I'm gonna be like, what was with all that dodgy secret stuff? Like why? Where were you the whole time?
I like it when people tell me God doesn't like child killers. I'm like, he literally made a kid just to kill it. Like, like that's the whole. He's like, you know, I'm so bored. I'm gonna make a kid just to kill him. That's my whole plan. Yeah.
I mean, but also like, why would I mean? I'm gonna be honest with you. If God's real, he doesn't care. He doesn't give a shit about anything because he doesn't. For this first Spielberg-less outing, just like the aliens, they're not here to save us either. You know, they don't give a shit.
Right.
We're on our own, guys. Like we're fucking doing this.
Mike Porter's like, what did I walk into?
Uh-oh.
Like, hey man, look, if we're gonna get into theological fucking beliefs and shit, you know, with Indiana Jones, I'm just saying, like, come on, folks, come on, you know.
Right. But one time I did get saying cars stoned. That's a fact. All right. For this first Spielberg-less outing, all the hallmarks of the series are there as you'd hope them to be, lovingly preserved like archaeological treasures. There is an ingenious and elaborate booby-trapped cave system. There is a throwback. Yeah, I know. And once again, they're going to go all the callbacks. Well, where's fucking Short Round, motherfucker? He's not here.
Yeah, it's not all the callbacks.
Yeah, I mean, I would take Short Round over Saul fucking 100 times. Just saying. And there are
close, dude.
And there are plenty of Nazis ready for the punch-in, but there is also some sadness and regret. A man out of time, finally running out of time and surveying the ruins of his life. A tone that sometimes feels unusually somber for this kind of blockbuster. Dial of Destiny has all the showdown. Oh, okay, whatever. They don't like Crystal Skull. That may be the hand of director James Mangold, a filmmaker who has some understanding of making a bittersweet genre pick about a beloved pop culture icon in the twilight of his years. Because of Logan, he moves confidently through action set pieces after action set piece, which let's not forget, that's what Indiana Jones basically really supposed to be doing. Supposed to be really, really funny with a lot of good action set pieces. Keeping up a frantic pace. Mm-hmm.
I do want to say, Jason, in my critique of I loved The Last Crusade.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta be honest with you. The part I can't fucking stand, other than what they did to Marcus, but I'm saying sequence-wise, the whole scene is Indiana Jones pretending with the tapestries and the Scottish bit. It's not Indiana Jones.
Come on, that was fun.
The Indiana Jones of Raiders of the Lost Ark ain't doing that bullshit, bro. He's not doing that. That's some bullshit shtick.
It's a different man. He's seen some things. Oh, come on. When his dad shoots the tail and he's like, I'm afraid they got us, son. It's great.
Sure, but the tapestries. Oh, the tapestries. No, it's not. It's not good. Took me out when I was a kid. I was like, what the hell are they doing?
It took you out because they said Mickey Mouse. I think you were like, Mickey Mouse?
No, man. I was watching a lot of shit at that time. I was watching RoboCop.
Yeah, same. No, but as a kid though, when they see Mickey Mouse, you're like, what the fuck? First though, we flash back to a younger, more self-assured Indy. The film begins, as all good Indiana Jones movies should, in barnstorming fashion in 1944 at the close of World War II, with an only mildly uncanny de-aged Harrison Ford battling the Nazis. He's aided by fellow academic Basil Shaw, filling in the bumbling Brit role previously occupied by Denholm Elliott. I don't know, man. Marcus didn't really go anywhere with them until later on. As they attempt to retrieve the lance of Longus, the blade that pierced Jesus. But another more intriguing artifact catches their eye, the Antikythera, which the Nazis are particularly interested in for its godlike powers. Sound familiar? Yeah. Man, it's pretty hot. That opening salvo is terrific and moves at a frantic lick, which makes the timeline jump to 1969 all the more impactful. Dr. Jones now lives in a dirt cheap New York apartment on the verge of retirement and self-medicating with booze. He is still
Sounds like Steve Ditko.
He is still a lecturing professor, but only just. In a neat contrast to the enamored, doe-eyed students of Raiders Last Crusade, his students are bored and uninterested. Everyone said like the same kind of like thing right here, like the same paragraph in all of the other reviews I read that we're not talking about today. That's like the same thing. It's like, I think they might have been informed of some things that they were allowed to write, you know, or suggestions about what they're allowed to write. And into this, onto this unhappy tableau comes his goddaughter and Basil's daughter, Bibi Waller-Bridge, Helena, who sets him off on one last quest to find the other half of the Antikythera and maybe find the spark of adventure he once had. This is not an adventure, Jones actually insists at one point. Waller-Bridge is superb for her part. If Ford is the cranky, ill-tempered hero, she is the witty, sharp-tongued cynic, like Karen Allen's Marion in the first film, a Howard Hawksian woman. Hawksian.
You talk like this. How you doing?
Yeah.
Hot down, yeah, Jones. No one said that. Wheels of Time. Gonna go.
Really?
Yeah. You know, like. So when, do you ever see that Aviator movie when what's her face?
Oh, that's a transatlantic.
Transatlantic. The transatlantic Indiana Jones and the transatlantic adventure in time, right?
Yeah, he goes back in time, and it turns out that Kate Blanchett's alive, and she's that character now. Naturally,
haircut.
Yeah, she's pretty hot, the haircut. Naturally, like the Nazis are also on the case, as Jürgen Waller, Mads Mikkelsen, is enjoyably hissable. He is, of course, Hollywood's favorite accent for hire, though this is a thoroughly nasty Nazi, one whose racism and arrogance isn't downplayed. Still bitter about past conflicts. You didn't win the war, he snarls at the American at one point. Hitler lost. Yeah, whatever, you fucking Nazi logic there. It doesn't escape the sometimes wobbly politics that the series has sometimes been accused of. The return of John Rhys Davies, a white Welshman, as the Egyptian character Salah, feels needlessly thoughtless choice in 2023. And the globe-trotting can occasionally feel a bit MacGuffin by numbers, but must find the thing which leads to the map, which will help find the other thing. See, but that's the whole, that right there is exactly the MacGuffin, like, doesn't necessarily really matter. It's the action that they're able to put into that. That's the whole point. The MacGuffin's like,
that is the whole reason why these Mission Impossible movies are great, Jason. Because it's not the fucking MacGuffin, it's the adventure.
No, but that's the trick. But that's what a MacGuffin is. Is it like the MacGuffin in Pulp Fiction? It doesn't matter what's in the briefcase. Doesn't fucking matter. It's the excuse for the fucking thing. And so it's
Popeye. It's a Popeye's chicken sandwich.
That sounds pretty good right now. Actually, I fucked that up right now. But so what I'm trying to say is, like, is this a symptom of the action actually not being good enough that people are paying attention to that, or is it just that we are so not really sophisticated, but believe we're so sophisticated that we are above it now? You know, that's what I wonder. But anyways,
Everyone thinks they're a master of story structure, and they all think they can write
yeah,
one until they have to write one, and then they're like, "Oh, good job, stupid."
yeah,
You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah. Look, that's
yeah,
why, like, even though I give my critique, I always tell people, they go, "Well, Rob, why don't you write a script?" I'm not a fucking screenplay writer, man. I know screenplay writers. It's not easy. It's
sure.
not easy. So that's why when I'm like, when dudes are getting paid millions of dollars, the best of the writers should be the ones working on it.
Mhm.
Not my buddy's best friend. Like a dude I knew once. We went together at fucking a USC and we're buddies, and we kind of like the same stuff. So he helped me out.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and before I go on with the review, Brandon says I don't really care about the critics' reviews. I'm still really excited for Indy 5. Oh yeah, no, same. I don't really think that, like, my connection to it when I see it is what ultimately matters to me. I don't really care if everybody likes it or doesn't like it, and you shouldn't, like 95% of the movies that I actually watch are movies that most of you guys would hate, that nobody else likes but
Greasy Strangler.
me. Greasy Strangler. I mean, After Sun was the best movie last year. Nobody's fucking watched it. Nobody will see it. Nobody wants
Hell
to.
no. I'm not
And
watching that.
it's best movie. That was the best film I saw last
See,
year, though.
this is where I think you and Snyder would get along. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's the movies he wants to scoop, and he has all the
Yeah.
info on, but he gets stuck talking about Indiana Jones and Star Wars.
But however, me being the man that I am, I can like After Sun and Return of the Jedi. You know what I mean? I'm able
Yeah.
to. I come more out of a punk rock ethos of you can make something very simple or very good. As long as
Yeah.
there's this idea that anybody can do it, and that's the one thing I always felt isn't really punk about Star Wars now, but was always punk about Star Wars, is that, like, George Lucas kind of had an everyman quality to him at the time that he made that movie, and then he fucking dreamed that up,
When
and
he
that's still
made,
like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, he obviously becomes the studio as time goes on, right? But
100%.
but there is sort of a punk thing with the guy, like, swindling the movies back out of, from the studio and shit like that. Like, I like that stuff. But
That's Andor has that. That's what I was trying to say. Like, Andor feels
Mhm.
like Lucas after THX 1138 and right before American Graffiti.
Yeah,
I mean, he still had it after American Graffiti, but I think like the Americana nostalgic part of American Graffiti
well,
ends up in Star Wars. Yeah.
yeah, I feel like Andor's sort of punk in that I feel like they kind of tricked Disney into making this thing. And
Yeah.
it's like, and it's out, and there's nothing you can do about it now. Like, I like that
Just
stuff.
just
But
think about, like, really quick, just think about like when we're with Nitwit Incel dude and
hmm
he's in that bureaucracy on Coruscant, right?
hmm
Just watch how it feels like you're in like a almost Terry Gilliam like scenario there, right? Like Brazil, but like through the lens of THX 1138. Like, it's a real bureaucracy. And then you see that exact same like location in Mando season 3, and you're like, yeah, that's not the same fucking thing. This feels like Galactic Starship or me talking to Disney employees at Star Tours, like the Mando version of it.
yeah.
It's totally different.
Listen to Dave's story here. We were supposed to see Popeye, and my dad got
Ooh.
tickets for Raiders instead. Didn't realize it until we walked into the actual theater. I was 8 and angry until the movie started. Yeah,
I
that's.
do watch Popeye once a year, though, man. I do watch
I
it.
don't watch it once a year, but I'll put every now and then I'll see it somewhere
I
on and I'll watch it. Yeah, it's
Well, I'm
not
stunned
good, but
because no, but there's the making. So it's a giant real set. Like, that fucking whole thing still
yeah,
exists. You can go there now into Malta, and it's still there. Like, like you can go and so that's real seawater. When they're in a building shooting out, that's not a back. That's the real place. So that's what's amazing to me. One, and two, they're really singing on set. Like,
yeah.
that's like what's that what's that thing with Schmamboozle, Schmigadoon, right? With the thing on Apple TV, like it's like a musical with
Mm,
Keegan Allen Key. He's in there, right? And the
yeah.
thing is, everyone's actually singing into a microphone on
Okay.
set. So there's
Yeah.
no ADR, and like there is a giant difference.
Yeah.
So, and it's got music, that Popeye has what's that, Henry Nilsson, right? It's got that Nilsson and put the lime in the coconut.
Mhm.
So, like, I don't know, man. Like,
Well,
I
he
get
never
it. It's
saw it,
not a
dude.
great movie.
He never saw it, dude. He had to go see
I
Raiders.
know,
No,
he
I'm
got
just
thrown
kidding.
out. He got Kathleen Kennedy. He was got Kathleen Kennedy,
He
right?
did. He got
Like,
he got
yeah,
Kennedy
yeah, yeah.
early
But
on.
visually speaking, man, you got
Yeah.
it. Like nothing looks like Popeye because they really shot that. Like you can't fake seawater. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's something. Like that's what I love about Jaws. Like when they're really in the water, you just something totally different about it.
Oh, you know how Mama Doma says I used to watch Last Crusade once a year as a kid. Definitely my favorite. Yeah, you know what? Like last time I watched it, what really made me cringe is when he's meeting what's her name? What's her name? Not Allison Duty. And he's like he wants to put the flowers out. Do you permit me? And they do like that whole thing. That's where I'm like,
Right.
that's not fucking Indiana Jones, man. He'd be like, come here, Dane. I'm joking, but kind of. It was just a little bit. It was a little too fucking old timey romance, but it doesn't work. And it's the delivery feels like an outtake. Critical says Fast X is actually great, best since Fast Five for me. So yeah, cool. I think it's going to be cool. I think it's going to be a fun, like dumbass fun movie, like for sure. But you know, fucking Indiana Jones.
I only like the
not
first one.
good.
Sorry,
But,
I know. I
no.
tried. I love that. I love the idea of a heist and over the top. But there's something about I don't know. It's just,
Dude, on the fucking Universal tour, when he fucking shows up in 3D, he looks so fucking stupid, but it makes me so
Vin
happy.
Diesel
Yeah, he's so fucking dumb, dude. He's like
shows up
such
in
a
3D.
fucking idiot. Yeah, he's like, come on, guys, and like he's like, you're working for the family now and shit. It's really dumb. I'm like every time I see it, like I'm fucking laughing, and everybody else is just like looking at it, drooling. Though nobody else thinks it's funny, so just me. But yeah. All right, let's go back to the review and finish this up. Does it work though? This is from Empire Online. In a way, what Crystal Skulls in a way that Crystal Skulls Climax didn't, sort of. It depends on if you're willing to go with it. This is a series that has always gestured towards fantasy. It was conceived by Spielberg and Lucas as a homage to the beloved 1940 serials, cinema as pulp, and this bold as brass ending fits comfortably into that tradition. Importantly, it feels true to Indy as a character. In the end, it seems to suggest it wasn't about the fortune and glory at all, but finding your own little corner of history. And Indy, one way or another, has found it. So Indy's final date with Destiny has a barmy finale that might divide audiences. But if you join him for the ride, it feels like a fitting goodbye to cinema's favorite grave robber. So belongs in a museum. Kind of sounds
Indiana
bad.
Jones and the fitting grave robber.
Yeah.
I love that. I did not see that ending coming.
Yeah.
All right.
Weird. But
this is good.
yeah.
You got me.
But I'm gonna see it. I'm gonna see this movie, and then no, actually, now I'm not gonna see it. I read the reviews. I'm not seeing it. I'm just gonna dream about it for a long time and then never see it. No, I think that Rob and I were talking before, and I'm like, it's this is the last. I believe this is actually the last Harrison Ford Indiana Jones movie. And it's funny because this is the third time they sold us Harrison Ford's last Indiana Jones movie. And here we are. Third time. 3 fucking times we bought the last Indiana Jones movie.
2 previous times. This would be the third time.
And then
for some people who don't pay attention.
This is the third time. Yeah. And but with all of that said, like I think there will be more Indiana Jones movies. There will be somebody else will play Indiana Jones. They will just James Bond it. There's just no way Disney's going to be like, nah, unless this movie comes out and like bombs really, really, really hard. It'll take a long time, but it'll still happen. But I think if this movie does fairly well, is profitable and stuff like that, I would imagine we see Indiana Jones stuff come back and we see more. And from what I, we've only seen the 7 minutes and the trailers, but when I want all of that stuff, if they wanted to do a one with Elena, they wanted to do a movie with her set in the Indiana Jones universe, and bringing in that those filmmaking mechanics and stuff like that, I would be all for it.
Raiders of the
So,
Cold War.
and and I believe that Harrison Ford is out for good, just because even if he wanted to, by the time it gets out of the next development hell and then becomes a thing, he will likely not be in movies anymore. He's in his 80s now. So it's like, he may even want to do it again. You know what I mean? It would be embarrassing if he did, obviously, if he continued to fucking do this. It's already kind of ridiculous. But I believe he is out. But I also believe that we will be seeing an Indiana Jones movie within 10 years. You know, another one with somebody else. And it's not Bradley Cooper, and it's not fucking the Star-Lord. It's going to be some other guy who's
Chalamet.
No, it's going to be some other guy who's between 25 and 30. You know, at the time when
Chalamet will get burnt out. He'll disappear, and then he'll come back because he'll need the money. And
Shamalama Ding Dong.
Yeah. Everyone loves that fucking waif. So I'm like, it'll be that guy.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a genius fucking actor, but whatever.
I barely believe in genius actors, to be honest with you. Read the fucking lines.
Well,
shut the fuck up.
I direct you to the stylings of Steve Gutenberg, my friend. You know, like no one else has pulled off.
You know what?
Since you know
when fucking Daniel Day-Lewis does a Steve Gutenberg movie at the Gutenberg level, I'll believe it at that point. I'll be like, yeah, you can do anything, but I'm not seeing him do that.
I'm saying, look, if Daniel Day-Lewis's final film is a Police Academy reboot, then I stand corrected.
Yeah, that would be great. Or okay, how about this? Daniel Day-Lewis plays everybody in Police Academy. Like they Back to the Future Part 2 it, you know, like the split screens. He's Mahoney, he's Tackleberry, he's, you know.
That's so good, we should deep fake that. You know what I mean? Because it would look like a deep fake if he did that, right? Like,
yeah.
Yeah, I think that would work.
Get him canceled over playing Hightower, it'd be great. But anyways, right? that's how it goes. I'm still laughing at fucking what's his name from Jaws being like, why can't I do blackface? Why can't I take this challenge on?
Richard Dreyfuss.
Richard Dreyfuss. What are you doing, Richard Dreyfuss? Why are you
Othello. See, he had to drop Shakespeare, you know what I mean? Like, because most people won't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Is anybody asking? Is anybody asking?
What he's really saying is why he can't play the Sammy. Yeah. He's really saying is why can't he play the Sammy Davis Jr. character in Ocean's 11? You know what I mean?
It's wild.
Othello. What Shakespeare has that motherfucker ever been in? Like, I'm waiting for the Shakespeare. I would like to see Richard Dreyfuss try iambic pentameter, like just once.
Oh, you got, what about Bob Hamlet? That's what the fuck are you talking about, dude?
Now hold on. Keanu Reeves wasn't much ado about nothing.
Oh
right?
God,
brilliant.
I think that was the one in high school where my teacher showed us that to be like, yeah, here's how you do it wrong, But they were also like, here's what it looks like when somebody does it wrong.
Made Three Musketeers look pretty good, doesn't it?
Yeah,
told you.
I mean,
told you. I stand by that film.
But for some reason, I'm okay with him in Dracula. I mean, I know that's not Shakespeare, but I mean, he sticks out like a sore thumb.
I like that armor. I give a fuck less about the story of Dracula.
I don't know.
I like that. I wanted that war movie. I wanted them to whatever that movie started with. I was like, just do that.
Yeah.
I don't need all this other shit.
I liked when the chick from Beetlejuice and Lucy kissed in Dracula. Remember that? That was fun.
Yeah.
It was like a 12-year-old. I was like, all right, let's Winona Ryder, let's do it.
On the upside, that movie did give us Mike Mignola's adaptation of Dracula, which is really great comic book, man. Like seriously good.
Yeah, I like that Dracula. I mean, I kind of like the like Christopher Lee, like Hammer, more pulpy, kind of like corny Dracula films. But that is like the best Dracula movie, when you really get down to it. I think, anyways.
Monster Squad's pretty good.
Monster Squad is pretty good, but let's be honest, that's not a Dracula movie. That's Dracula and Friends. Jonesy says,
Avengers.
Never trust movie critics. Jaws, Titanic, Casablanca, Godfather Part 2, Inception, Gladiator, et al.
I don't know about all that. Yeah.
Bad reviews are great flakes. Movie taste is all individual opinions and taste. Yeah, but I am with you on that. I still have to see Indiana Jones and make up my own fucking mind on that one. right? But at the same time, it's not like critics aren't useful. They sometimes make bad calls. They sometimes misunderstand a movie, but the misunderstandings generally happen when a paradigm shift has occurred. And I'm just going to throw it out there. I don't think the Indiana Jones movie is a paradigm shift. It's more just like, you know what I mean? So it's like, but if something new came out that was just like people going, this is unbelievable, and all the critics were saying it was bad, I'm like, oh, a paradigm shift has occurred, and the critics haven't caught up. Speed Racer, that's their best movie by far. I mean, I like Speed Racer better than the Matrix.
Good, though. I agree, but Bound is pretty good, dude. Bound, the first Matrix, and Speed Racer.
I have a theory that is like so dumb, but I think Speed Racer bombed because of the helmet that he wears. I think if the helmet that Speed Racer wore wasn't like all throwbacky and like it looked fucking cool, I think it might help the movie, like in the marketing. But that's just me.
Also, not for nothing,
I like it though.
Best. He's probably the weakest actor in that movie. To be honest with you, he wasn't the best casting, that particular dude.
Yeah.
Like, I hate to say it, but had they gotten like Shia LaBeouf or someone at that time, it might have done better.
You're right.
Like someone who was like having fun. He was like trying to look cool.
I know.
Like you remember Tron Legacy? Like that dude. Where'd he go?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love Speed Racer though. Like I think it's one of the like truly like untapped things in Hollywood that they need to crack if they want to make boatloads of money, because it's just there. It's just waiting. And
I really thought Jack from Lost in that movie was fantastic. Like at that time when that movie came out, I was like, this guy should be Superman.
Yeah, as a Racer X.
Dude. Yeah. He was way more charismatic than the lead dude. I'm not saying that dude Emil Hirsch can't act, Tyron. I'm just saying that movie was the weakest part of it. Like when John Goodman's like fighting the ninjas, it's way more entertaining than anything Emil Hirsch is doing in that movie.
But I also don't think that the movie didn't connect because of him. I think that like they just failed to convince people and to adequately inform people about what it was. And
they didn't. Like if you had the marketing today where like Oppenheimer's like, you have to see it in IMAX. Speed Racer was a movie you should have seen in IMAX. Fucking blow your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Oppenheimer is going to be a good movie. But and I know it's going to be like something that's going to be like cool to see. But also, is Oppenheimer going to be a movie where you're like, wow, that was really good, and then you're just like, I never need to look at that again? Is it going to be one of those or not? I'm curious.
Man. Right? Like Dunkirk did a lot too.
Like fucking, I went to fucking that fucking Spielberg Lincoln movie. Man, that shit was boring as shit. And I'm getting a hand job, and that's all I remember from the movie. That was the best part.
Staring at Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yep. That's why Daniel Day-Lewis is on my brain. I need a hand job. But
we know what brain today you're talking about.
But yeah.
Sure.
But anyways, yeah. When Indiana Jones comes out, me and Rob will obviously do an episode, and we'll talk about all of our Indiana Jones feelings on it. I tend to be like, how the reviews were saying though, like if you go with it, and that's how I feel about these movies. Is I'm like, yes, I am willing to go with you. Let's go. And then it's only when I say yes, let's go, let's do this, because I'm clearly very enthusiastic about what Lucasfilm generally has done. But then when they like give me a willow, then I'm like, fuck you, fuck you guys.
I'm the guy. And I stand by this, who said the fourth Indiana Jones film should be Indiana Jones and the War of the Worlds. I thought they should have took the 1950s Orson Welles War of the Worlds bit and mixed Indiana Jones into it and give us an alien saucer invasion. Just give us an alternate, because we're already with Indiana Jones. We're in alternate history anyway. Like I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah, no, and that's one of those kinds of concepts. Like the Darabont draft of Indy 4. The problem with that one was it just did not take into account that Harrison Ford was old, that people weren't going to buy him doing all of the same stuff he used to do, like that kind of shit. But like if they had made it right then, like in like 1991 or whatever, like just having the World of the Worlds thing having been real, with Indiana Jones having stopped it, that's a fun movie right there. I remember Spielberg saying like he saw Roland Emmerich's film, which was Independence Day, and he was like, "Well, we can't do that now." And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like,
But then he did it anyway.
but then you did well, not
He did it anyway. But look,
kinda.
man, I like Tom
Yeah.
Cruise, but that like
No.
setting it in
Oh,
the
okay.
50s is a better idea than
No.
setting it in
No.
2001. You
No.
know?
What that means, Rob, is no aliens showing up and zapping the buildings and stuff like that. Like that's what Spielberg was getting at, and that's what Roland Emmerich was doing in Independence Day. But I'm also like, number one, the way that it, and then he did War of the Worlds, obviously, like itself, and then did that too. But it's like, you know, it's just when Spielberg does it, it's different than when Roland Emmerich does it. And it's like no one would have ever even have thought that Indiana Jones and UFOs had anything to do with Independence Day. Like people wouldn't have made that connection. It was really weird. Like I don't know if he's just trying to like throw a bone to a homie by saying that. You know what I mean? Like
And they still could have got that nuclear explosion. Imagine if they had dropped a nuclear bomb on the aliens in that one. And you still get that visual too, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, Crystal Skull does take into account his age, but then it does stupid shit where it has him like kind of being Spider-Man with the whip. So it does a little bit of both, and
cuts to silhouette, right?
You know,
warehouse, right?
Wait, what do you mean?
Like it cuts to silhouette when he's swinging with the
yeah,
silhouette CGI double, and you're like, okay, like
yeah. So I mean, yeah. So that's where I'm a kind of two minds on some of it, but I honestly don't like the Darabont draft, and I love Frank Darabont. I think Darabont could have actually got the movie into a good place had they stayed the course with him, but they didn't, and I don't know if anything's changed, but I don't. At that point, Spielberg or Lucas and Darabont were estranged after that one. And after the movie came out and he saw certain sequences like the ants and stuff that he put in his show up. But you knew that was going to happen. Like in modern Hollywood, when you run one of these things and they usually have 5 writers that come through.
Dude,
and
how crazy it would have been.
Mm-hmm.
How crazy would it have been if the final film was like, let's say you had the War of the Worlds and then they make one more and it's like one of those saucers ended up in like Antarctica and it's another remake of The Thing from Another World. Indiana Jones and The Thing. You know what I mean? You could sort of like get the Spielbergian take on, because you're already invoking Howard Hawks anyway. You know what I mean? And like doing like the final one with Indy. I could imagine Indy being in Antarctica, you know, like wanting to get away from the world, you know, like archaeologically digging up fucking UFOs out in the snow and shit. Like,
well, yeah, that's like the question that, you know, we seemingly know how this goes out, you know, based off of the reviews. But when they do continue Indiana Jones in the future, you know, like, when they go forward, do they just not really acknowledge other things and just keep making the adventures, you know, out of sort of like James Bond does, where it's just like, here's the adventure. It doesn't really matter what happens at the end. You know, he learns a lesson or something, but then it doesn't really matter when we get to the next one. Or do you reboot? Or do you know, and I really don't know what the right answer is, because I don't like the idea of rebooting, but I also love the idea of continuing Indiana Jones concepts and with other people and stuff like that, because nothing's going to take these original films away. So do whatever the fuck you want, you know, with going forward or doing more. That's my take. Like, I go see like the fucking Mummy or something like that, and then I see that, I'm like, this would have been better if this made it in an Indiana Jones film and use that shit. So it's like, you know, I don't think anything's sacred, not when you know, Disney owns it. So I'm like, just fucking make whatever you want, dude. Fucking turn that shit out. Let's have fun. But at the same time, I still think if this one's successful, it'll take a few years for them to reboot it. I think that they kind of or continue it with somebody else, just doing films in a different era, because they have it. I think they will have it easy though, because like, you know, Ford's gonna, you know, I think he's gonna be retiring from Hollywood after he does those Marvel movies, most likely. I was hearing he was going to retire.
I think it's just one film.
Yeah. Well, what was hilarious about that was he was telling everybody he was going to retire with this film. That's what he was saying. And just before D23, that's what was being said. And then that's when they were, I guess, talking
He
him into
showed up
that.
with a truck full of cash, Jason.
Yeah, exactly. So I get to be the red goddamn Hulk. I'm in.
Yeah.
As long as I get that green money. So.
I get to look like Lou Ferrigno. Yeah.
he still believes that. He thinks he's gonna paint him up like
I get to wear red slippers, move in slow motion.
Yeah.
Say what you want about that She-Hulk show, dude. When they did the homage to the '70s Hulk TV show and got like a dude, like the She-Hulk version, I thought that shit was fucking brilliant. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, that's the kind of fucking Easter egg and I want to see where they recaptured the chromatic aberration in the film grain and put a person in costume and shit. I thought that was cool.
So Darren, no, not really, Darren. Darren says Disney is in trouble. Cutting shows. Viewership is down on Disney Plus. They have dumped the Galactic Star Cruiser epic failure. More and more people are turning off over recent Disney content.
Yeah, watch Little Mermaid open to $3 billion fucking dollars, dude. Like,
it is.
Come on, guys.
It's right now at this moment. I'm not saying that this is what it's going to be, but at this moment, right now, Little Mermaid is looking to be the biggest movie of the summer. I think, in terms of the early people of buying.
It ain't my cup of tea, but yeah, it will be, dude. When I was in the theater last, what did I go see? I went to go see Mario. Just saw Mario in 3D, right? They played the 3D version of that Little Mermaid track. Fucking people were like, "Oh my god, this is in the middle of Idaho, bro." Like they never speak during the trailers. So
yeah, it's going to be complete garbage. It's going to be a bunch of new renditions and of high quality versions of the songs from the original movie, sang by the cast of American Idol, basically. That's what it's going to sound
I would prefer a CGI remake if you were going to do it, like with extended sequences or some new shit. But and I don't care whether you change the character's race or I give a shit less. It's a fucking fish person. But I just don't believe in live action versions of cartoons. Like I don't like live action anime.
I mean,
I don't want live action Mario. I don't want live action Zelda. I don't want live action Beauty and the Beast. I don't fucking want live action Aladdin. I'm an animation dude. So
yeah. I would rather they just make Phantom of the Opera a Disney movie or some shit. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Phantom of the what was the musical that Brian De Palma did? Phantom of the Paradiso, was that?
I don't know.
The rock opera he did with Williams, the fucking dude, Paul Williams. Phantom of the Paradise. Phantom of the Paradise.
Yeah. I didn't see it.
That's right up your fucking alley.
All right.
That movie.
I'll watch it. I'll watch anything. What year is it from? Like 74 or something? Or is it like later?
Yeah, 72, 73.
72?
And and it's got
that, I loosely know with
vibe. It. Like if you had to make me watch Rocky Horror or Phantom of the Paradise every fucking day.
Oh, come on. Rocky Horror is great though.
Yeah, it's not really my thing.
I love it. It's good.
Yeah, Phantom of Paradise is better.
The songs?
It's better. Phantom of Paradise is better.
But the thing, Darren, that they're doing is the cutting of those shows. So what's happening there is we assume that Bob Iger is doing the Zaz Lab. Apparently, Bob Iger and Zaz Lab are hitting the strip clubs together and fucking becoming the best of friends. And Zaz, I mean, I was about to say for better or worse, but for worse, Zaz Lab has changed the industry. And they're all like, okay, if we all do the same thing, it's going to be better for us. So what's happened is, for instance, Willow, complete piece of dog shit, comes out, hits Disney Plus, just does what it does. If they leave it there, they're not, no one's watching it. So it's not really doing anything, but the people who do watch it, they have to pay residuals on. It's just not worth it. So they're just fucking pulling it off and then shafting everybody. I mean, like, fuck you, Warwick Davis and friends.
You think they should sell it to Tubi so they can just pay residuals out of Tubi's fucking pocket? Like,
well, here's what I believe Zaslav did was they created a new sort of like Tubi kind of like channel where you could watch their ghettoed content with ads. Now that content is making money, but the thing about it is, if I understand this correctly, that's a different deal than the one for HBO. So when they signed the original deal for, like, let's say Westworld was in their mindsets always going to be on HBO. HBO's eternal. HBO's never going to take content off. They're about building content. That's what HBO does. So when they have this other deal about what happens when the shit gets shown everywhere else, that's like an afterthought. It's lowballed. That's not going to happen. HBO doesn't want to give it up. Right. Well, Zaslav comes in, buys the shit, takes that shit off, doesn't finish it, and throwing it onto this free service with ads. So most likely that's what they're going to do at Disney. And what they're going to, and this, what they're doing right now is costing them somewhere, I think I heard between $1 billion and $1.7 billion. That's what it's costing them. But let's be real. They wouldn't do something that's going to cost them $1 billion unless if it was saving them more than $1 billion at the same time in the big picture. So by removing these things from there, they're going to also be able, by saving that money after they spend it, they're going to be able to see, like look how much money, like look how good Disney Plus is doing. But all of that shit is a fucking game anyways. It's none of it's fucking real. We don't know what their numbers are. So the only thing that we could actually
reason for the strike.
That's one of the reasons for the strike. Yeah, a really big reason for it. That's like all of it's just fucking funny bullshit accounting. And but also like when it comes to this kind of stuff, like the Disney company that, you know, the theme parks dumping the Galactic Star Cruiser is a complete different failure in a different subsidiary than the show, than Willow getting dropped, for instance. So it's like they're a diversified company. So you're looking at a couple of things that are failures. They aren't good. Like these are, I'm not saying these are good things, but
they're going to take that spot with Galactic Starship and turn that shit into like Ariel's fucking cruise. You know what I mean? Like adventure, make it a $500 a night fucking spot. And then, you know what I mean? Like
how about
fucking aquariums and shit?
How about we just drive it into a fucking iceberg and call it the Titanic? How about we just do that?
Hey, I'm all for it. They already got Avatar Land. Let's make Titanic Land. Like,
do it. Titanic Land would actually probably do really fucking well with those fucking idiots who like Dapper Day at Disneyland. Oh, it's Dapper Day, everybody. Look at me. I'm dapper.
Hey,
you look like a fucking asshole. You look like,
at least they bathe. Those are the days people bathe when they go to
the only time you see that is when they're like with whoever they're with is really hot. Then you're like, I get why you're going with that shit and I respect it. You know what I mean? How to do it. Understand where you're coming from.
Women like Dapper Day.
But God, they look like a bunch of assholes. Really truly do. Yeah, so I don't I think that Disney's not in trouble. It's actually a lot of smaller companies. Everybody is kind of in the same boat across the board with this stuff. It's not because of some fucking culture war. It's not because of so and so didn't like the Taika Waititi movie or whatever, which made the most money for a Thor movie ever.
Made more than the last Thor movie.
Yeah. So
the one everyone loves. Like, you figured that one out. Like,
but this thing that this right here is industry wide, and that's why Iger's looking at Zaslav like, you know, the way, and because I think like a part of it, I don't want to call like Bob Iger like moral. I don't mean to say that. I think there's certain things Iger would never do first. And Zaslav would fucking do it. And Iger's like, well, you did it. Let's do it. This is the standard now. This is how you run a company. I'm doing what I need to do for my stockholders, baby. You know, that's where, oh shit, it's time to go get the kids already? God, what the fuck? All right, everybody. I'll see everybody on Monday. If any big news happens, I'll come back on. And Rob, I gotta go. So I won't be talking to you after the show. But I'll message you. And so everybody, have a good weekend. And if anything happens, I'll jump back on. Otherwise, we'll see you guys Monday. It is Friday. Yeah, it's Friday. All right, I'll see you guys on Monday. Bye, everybody. Bye.